This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with SB Sports. It's a glorious Friday in Belfast. The sun's shining. You really think it's a summer day. Conor, I guess we'll get straight into it. Obviously, you've just been announced today. You're going to be fighting another Michael Conlon card again, and it's obviously going to be a world title fight.
Yes. Hola, ¿cómo estás?
With your bigger brother turned down the fight with you in the back.
Look at the haircut. Who done that? Who done it? Ah, Jill! Look, get away.
Your bigger brother, Paddy in the background there, where there's obviously a silly looking haircut. But obviously it's just been announced there today that you're going to be fighting on the Michael Conlon card on the 27th of May. Mm-hmm. I guess it's sort of another one of these, I guess you had to pinch yourself when it sort of happened in December, but they obviously now to be fighting on a world title card, the first world title card since August 2018.
Yes.
You're over the moon, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm delighted, Morty. Like you said, obviously you got the fight on Michael's on the card in December, and even then it was just, it was a surreal moment for me. And now the next show that the Conlon boxing has put on, and then the next show in the SSE arena, and obviously a world title fight, and again I'm getting the box on it. So as a young fighter sort of starting out their pro career like myself, and these are sort of the shows that you dream of fighting on. Jeez, see that? These are the shows that you dream of fighting on, and I obviously Mark Dunlap's managing me unbelievably in my opinion, and you're getting a mix of everything. You're getting the fight on Mark shows, which are amazing, and then obviously you're getting the experience of these big shows, the stadium shows.
Obviously, when you first come back in September, you obviously, we've done a few interviews and stuff since we wanted to be acting and everything else. This is going to be your 5th fight in September, so I think, and probably somebody will correct me if I'm wrong, but you're probably the most active since that time. Obviously, it's going to be your 5th fight. You're obviously your 2nd fight in the SSE. Mark's like Runsale. He does exactly what he's going to say he's going to do. He's keeping you active. These obviously fights are becoming more and more active for you. It's getting you probably back what it's like in the amateurs, where you're obviously nearly fighting every couple of days. Is this obviously now starting to bring you on a bit more, because that's what you want the activity and everything else, but is this starting to dent back into the potential that you have? You obviously been a world champion and everything else, but the more you're busier, the more we're going to see the better of you.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously I am new to the pro game as such, but as an amateur, boxing every tournament around the world, and you're competing at such a high level your whole amateur career, and then obviously you're starting out as a pro, but what sort of potential you have, and what sort of level you're going to get to. But like you said yourself, it's all about activity, and being with Mark, he has kept me, like you said, they're probably the most active fighter since my return to boxing, and with that just comes everything just sort of starts to level up each time you fight. Obviously the opponents will get better, and I'll get better and rise to the occasion when that happens, but also there's things you're working on in the gym day in day out, but you can only really show it in the ring in a live fight, and the more fights you have, the more sort of used to it you become, and as you're getting them around, you're getting the experience, everything just starts to get better and better and better. And I'm sitting here now, it's going to be my 5th fight since my return, but it's crazy for me to think now. Obviously, as a professional boxer, you're thinking of a long-term career and maybe 10 years at this game, and that's what everyone sort of always says. But I just want to push and push and push, and do things as quickly as possible and as soon as possible, obviously within reason, and that's why Mark's there to manage and guide me. But I just feel like now the momentum's just building, and the opportunities are coming, and everything's just starting to take off, and this is what professional boxing is. This is what I always thought professional boxing would be, and it just feels amazing now to be part of it.
Well, obviously in the sort of middle spell as well, I'd probably say that the busiest obviously Irish boxing's ever been. Do you think of 5 fight cards in the space of 9 weeks, and there's obviously another one now in June being announced there as well. It's a great time for you sort of coming back sort of indie boxing. Obviously you had a couple of fights in America, you're obviously in a very active role. Do you see nearly like any Belfast fight card is going to be announced now, is it into your head straight away to go, I'm going to be on that card? Is that the mindset that you sort of have now? It's like where's our fight card going to be? I know you message me back and forth at times to obviously find out when the card's happening, but when you see there's potential news of a fight card, are you there straight and thinking away going, am I on this card, or how can I get on the card? Is that how much the confidence is starting to come through now, the fact that you're going, I've got another fight date?
Definitely, yeah, like you said. So obviously in Belfast, Mark Dunlap's running the shows probably every 2 or 3 months now, so obviously I know when Mark's running the show, I'm obviously going to be on it, but also then with the likes of Colin and boxing and stuff, Mark's working alongside these guys and they're working together, which is amazing. It's amazing for me as a fighter and all the other fighters on the way up. But like you said there, if I see a card being announced in Belfast, I am starting to think, right, like, I want on this. When is it? Where is it? And who am I fighting? And it's amazing because obviously people in the public watching boxing are starting to feel that way as well. Like when the Michael Conlon and Lopez fight was announced, before I even knew it was on the show. Obviously you want to get on the show, but before Mark gives me 100% go ahead that I'm on it, people were stopping me in the street and saying, right, do you have tickets for this fight? Are you boxing on it? Whatever. And for me, like, that's a real good feeling, because whenever people are seeing these shows, obviously they're thinking of the top names in boxing, the likes of Michael Conlon, Paddy McCrory, Anto Kakachi, and the top names in boxing in Ireland, and they know that they're on it, but then they're also starting to assume that I'm on the shows too, which for me, that's all you could really ask for, is for these opportunities to just keep being presented to me, and I'll grab it with both hands.
Obviously, when we initially, I think when we previously spoke, you obviously said you wanted to have titles before the end of 2023. Is it maybe coming sort of too soon in the year to sort of, maybe looking at another 8-rounder on the 27th of May? I don't want to sort of get you to give too much away and get scolded in the background, but is the sort of plan another 8-rounder to sort of try and prepare for a title fight? Let's face it, the weight classes you're at, there's not so many names. Like obviously even you see here in Ireland, it's harder for you to get sparring and everything else, with people at your ideal weight. I've obviously seen you sparring Paddy last week, and he's a super middleweight, but obviously that was more of a mess around sort of to keep you going. But when you sort of look at the landscape, it's probably easier for you to get into title contention. When you probably look at British title and stuff as well, with the fights that you have, you could go into a British title fight now, but the problem you have is getting you along at the right pace, so that your last 8-rounder wanting 2 rounds, you probably need rounds. But the problem you have at the smaller weight class as well is you hit hard. So you could be in there with someone that's supposed to test you and you blow them out in a minute and a half and you're going, where's the next one?
Well, no, that's exactly it. Obviously, like, I'd be talking with Mark every day and Mark's talking with Jamie every day, and like, it's sort of, at the minute I just let them deal with all that. But if I was presented with a 10-round title fight for the show, that would be a dream come true for me. If it's an 8-round fight against someone maybe at a higher opposition and you're going to get the rounds in and Mark feels that's the right move, so be it. But obviously if you're asking me now, a dream scenario for me is a fight for some sort of title in the Odyssey, and a 10-round fight, and have a great fight and put on a good show for everyone coming to watch and sort of push me on. But by the end of the year, when you're saying there about British title and Commonwealth title and stuff, I think by the end of this year that's the sort of level we're going to be pushing towards. Obviously there's titles in between there and sort of smaller titles on the lead up to that, and that's probably what we'll be looking at now, because like you say, it's 12-round fights. I've been scheduled for 8, but I've went 2, so hopefully we can see what comes in the next couple of weeks and I get some sort of opportunity. Would be amazing, and then we'll kick on then, and like you say, start pushing towards British title level then.
Do you sort of look nearly sort of similar roles to Ryan Burnett? Obviously Ryan Burnett sort of went from British title to world title very quickly. Do you sort of look at that nearly in the same? I know obviously bantamweight was sort of different, but do you sort of look at it in the same way, as once you get the British title, you're good enough for world level sort of thing? Like there's nearly not much then from British to European to then the world. So do you sort of now start to go, right, once I can get the British title, once I win that, I'm then very, very close to a world title?
I would say so. Like, obviously people involved in boxing know how prestigious the British title is and the Commonwealth title. Obviously a lot of the times they come side by side, but for me I would say in the lower weight divisions, the British and Commonwealth title is probably very close to world level. Obviously you've got different titles there, like Intercontinental and sort of like the European titles and stuff outside of the EBU title, and I would probably say they're maybe just a stepping stone towards British level and Commonwealth level, and then once you get to that level, if you're doing alright, you're probably ready to push on towards the world level, because like you said, there's not many out there, there's not many about, and if you're fighting for 12 rounds and you're winning them sort of belts, I don't think you're too far off.
It's quite a while. Obviously, I think I'm privy to the list of obviously all British champions stuff from here. It's been quite a while, obviously, at that at your weight class, obviously flyweight, super flyweight,
Yeah.
since there's been a British champion.
Yeah.
You know, I remember speaking to Lewis Crocker before as well, and it was like 20 years. You know, since Neil Sinclair won the British
Yes.
title at welterweight. So you're nearly sort of creating a sort of new part of history.
Yeah.
You know, it's in this sort of century and things like that. It's well into probably the 80s or 70s maybe since the last flyweight British champion from here. So you nearly sort of see it as a big accomplishment.
Oh, definitely. I think the last one must have been Q Russell, was it?
It probably
Q
could be, yeah.
Q Russell, you know, and I really, really, respect Q, and he's a gentleman, obviously, but in terms of what he done in boxing, you know, and highly he holds that title, like in his thoughts, obviously, and not just because he won it, but if you think about it, really, back then, like my amateur coach, Paddy Graham Senior, that's when he was professional, like that's sort of the time he was around as well, and like back then you couldn't really just get on a plane and fly to America and fight for a world title. You know, the money just wasn't there to do things like that, and obviously it's not like today's world where you can sit in a plane for 7 hours and you're in America, and a lot of the world titles are over this side of the world anyway. So realistically, back then, a British title to them was sort of was your world title in a way, wasn't it? Because if you were a British champion, you probably won as much as you could really win with the opportunities that you were going to get. So, you think of the likes of Q Russell, and obviously, like I said, my amateur coach, Paddy Graham Senior, like all I ever heard from him was British title, you know, and like, just think that you could be part of that history and you could be winning these belts, and obviously, like I said, everything in my opinion is a stepping stone to the next level, and even when you're world champion, you still want to push on, and like that's the way you have to be in boxing, because if you ever sort of start to get a wee bit settled or get satisfied, you're probably coming near the end. So I would always like to get to a certain level and try and push on, but like the British title to me, it's something I've always heard about growing up, and something I always remember watching the Friday night fight nights with my granda and stuff like that, and that's definitely, it would be an amazing accomplishment for me. Yeah.
I think as well, like whenever you win the British title outright, I remember obviously speaking to Anto about it, because he was looking at owning it outright. Like Q Russell obviously has one. I think he won it at 2 different weights as well.
Yes.
So he has it outright. But I think that Lonsdale belt, when you win it outright, it's actually worth like 60 or 70 grand.
Jeez.
So it's worth a good bit of money. So you could you could flog it about here somewhere, and you could maybe be able to buy the coffees. One Zolan was saying he bought the coffees today again. He was giving me something in my ear before we started. You say I was buying the coffees. He wants a wind up.
Coffees. Well, listen, I'll let him buy them today, because a bit of an incident the other day when in the Costa, and he's been embarrassed. He went up to buy them and he hadn't got enough money, so I had to step in. You know what I mean? He'll be raging to be saying that now, but no, listen. It'd be amazing to own it outright, and 60, 70 grand now. You're saying this on camera. If I ever did win that outright, there'd be a couple of people who are saying if you get that sold now. So listen, if you can find someone to buy it for 70 grand, we'll start to think about it.
I definitely would. I guess, now that you've sort of had tickets, I guess, for a wee bit, and sort of having to sell them in the sly, you sort of now relieved that you're sort of announced now as well. So whatever tickets you've sort of left, because I know all the fighters, when you've ordered your tickets, you have to sell them.
Yeah.
Or if you've none that's left, you bought them now. So you're obviously glad and you're relieved now that you've got 6 weeks left to sort of sell remaining tickets. Have you got many left of what you've ordered?
No, well, the first amount that I ordered, like I said, you weren't able to. I wasn't telling anyone that I was on the show. So the first sort of bunch that I ordered, it was for close friends and family, and there's a lot of them, to be honest. So they're all gone, and Mark's just ordered me a new batch there yesterday, obviously knowing that today it's going to go out. So it's good, mate. It's good, because like obviously as the fights go on, you start to build up more sort of like a bigger number of people that are going to your fights every time, and they're the guys that I've sold the tickets to already, because like they're supporting me the whole way through, and any tickets that I get, people that's been buying them all my previous fights, they obviously get first shout, you know what I mean, because they've been supporting me the whole way. But now that this will be announced and I can put out, you're going to get more and more people then obviously wanting to buy tickets and go and support you, and obviously just wanting to go and watch the show as well. And that's what it's all about. Like, there'll be plenty of people in the SSE Arena on 27th of May that haven't bought a ticket directly from me, or haven't bought a ticket even to watch me, but I have an opportunity there that night to go on and put on a good show, and the next time I'm fighting, maybe they want to go and watch me then, you know what I mean?
You sort of look at it in a way of like a party sort of mode, where parties had to come up selling tickets.
Yeah.
And obviously his talent's then showing through, and as we're seeing, because you've obviously been even to the cards at that he's been on in the SAC where you haven't been on, and you're saying that every time he fights, the atmosphere's increasing. Are you sort of looking into that and going? Because the great thing obviously with selling tickets, which obviously I've helped with boxers and everything else in the past, you build friendships with people. So then they find a loyalty to you. They go, I'll get my tickets from you every time. And the good thing, you're seeing the loyalty in people. You're going, you bought tickets from me previously. I'm going to sort you out first. We're seeing the whole Katie Taylor thing in Dublin, and people's messaging fighters, they haven't spoke to him in years, and they're going, what's the crack? Can you sort me with tickets? And they're going, doesn't work like that. So people have to see that loyalty to see if they actually want to.
That's right. There was actually people messaging me for tickets to the Katie Taylor show because you had wrote something on Facebook, so don't bring it into that line. But for anyone watching this, I don't have tickets to that show, by the way, because I'm still getting tortured this morning, even, like, you know. So, but no, exactly, like, it's sort of, you just have to be a decent person, don't you? Like, that's the way the world works, in my opinion. Like, if people's being good to you, be good to them, and if you're good to people, they'll be good to you back. And obviously, you know, Paddy, he's world champion now, but he's probably the nicest guy in Irish boxing, you know, and it shows because, like, he went to Frankfurt and hundreds of people went to watch him, and, you know, like, even when Paddy's fighting, like, he's talking there, and obviously he was very close to getting the fight with Berlanga in Madison Square Garden, and it's not a case of like even for me and you know, all the other ones in the gym, like, it wasn't a case of that's a brilliant opportunity, good luck, we'll see you when you're back, it's right, let's go on and book the flights now, you know. Like, me and my girlfriend, we were on looking at flights there, obviously right up until the point where the fight was off, but you wouldn't think twice about going to support people like that, you know. And that's why, because they're nice people and they obviously put on a show, and we're all going to put on a good show, but I think it's about how you carry yourself outside of the gym and outside of the ring, and that's what really gets the people of Belfast behind you.
You were thinking the more the Frampton sort of approach, and the fact of a free bar afterwards, and they beat Berlanga, was it?
A free bar?
You were thinking of the free bar when Paddy beat him, that Paddy's going to buy everybody a drink in the bar?
Well, if it's free bar, I'll buy everyone a drink at the bar then, if that's the case, but, you know, like I said, you would never not go and support people like that, and especially obviously, you know, that we're teammates and we're friends and you're training alongside these guys every day. You just want to see everyone do well, and you want to be a part of it as well. You know, Paddy's obviously done a lot of things now in his career that has reflected very well onto the likes of myself and Murph and Owen and Jared and stuff and Lee, because, you know, he's getting these opportunities, but he's also getting an insight into big time boxing, and he's able to give us a bit of advice then. You know, Paddy's probably in a position now where he probably didn't know what to do in certain situations, but if we ever get to that position, he'll be able to help us now, you know, which is brilliant. You know, it's always good to have someone there to look up to.
Finally, I was going to touch on, I guess, you know, we've had no male world champions, I think, since June 2019, and the 4 recognised belts.
Yes.
Obviously, Mick Conlon becoming world champion on the 27th of May. What does that do for Irish boxing in terms of, and you're probably the best person to ask because you're on the way up, that obviously helps to inspire, and it sort of gives you sort of direction, not that you don't need direction or motivation, but it's like a conveyor belt sometimes. When one does it, everybody does it. It's like when Ando won the ABO belt last year, Paddy done it, Dennis Hogan done it. You know, you've Katie Taylor obviously going for 2-weight undisputed the week previously as well. It's a massive time, I guess, and particularly for Irish boxing in general, but for Mick to become a world champion on the 27th of May, what does that do for Belfast boxing? What does that do for Irish boxing?
Personally, I think it just changes it completely. You know, I think it'll be like a sort of a moment in history that in years to come you'll look back on and say, like, this is sort of the date that boxing changed in Ireland, especially with Katie Taylor obviously boxing the week before. Like, May 2023 is going to be, in my opinion, like a moment in history for Irish boxing, and especially for Belfast boxing, because, like, for anyone that doesn't really understand boxing, obviously everyone wants to fight in the big shows, everyone wants to get the big opportunities, but if they're not there, it's not possible, you know. And, like, obviously the SSE arena there's been a lot of boxing in it recently with Conlon boxing and stuff, and Mick's been the forefront of that anyway. So if he's now to become world champion, which we all believe he will, I think the shows are just going to keep coming, and I'm going to keep getting opportunities. Everyone in that gym in there is going to keep getting opportunities, and then we're all just going to constantly grow and grow and grow. Obviously with someone at the top of the pile leading the way, but for the likes of the big promoters, your Matchrooms, your Sky Sports and your Frank Warrens and stuff, it's going to let them say, right, look at the talent coming through here. Maybe that we might not have been able to see if these shows weren't on week in, week out. And for the likes of myself, it's basically, it's like you're getting the opportunity to showcase your skill on TV every other month. If these shows are happening every other month, and I believe that's what will happen once Michael becomes world champion.
And I guess you have to think of the Fila as well. Obviously, a few years without the Fila, and I know Jamie told me in December that we're planning for this year.
Yeah.
So the potential of obviously a unification in Falls Park that you could always be part of this time as well. And I think initially they were looking at 15 or 20 grand in there. Can you imagine that many people, like not as a rave, but actually there for boxing in Falls Park? And I say by that stage you could be fighting for your first title, or you could be defending your first title, depending obviously what the next 6 weeks holds.
Exactly, like you're saying it to me now, and I just can't keep the grin off my face, because like I says, them opportunities as a professional fighter, you can only really dream of them. And I think obviously I had a lot of issues when I come home from Australia with my licensing and stuff like that, but looking back on it now, it's probably done me the world of good, because now look where I'm starting my career, and look how buzzing Belfast boxing is. Where if I had been 2 years down the line, I might have been in a different situation right now, and you might not be able to get the opportunities to be part of this as much as I can now, because everyone loves a prospect and everyone loves to help someone on the way up, and like you're saying there, the Falls Park, like, that's 5 minutes up the road from me if you're walking slow, do you know what I mean? So even to hear things like that, and obviously you've got Paddy in there as well, be a huge part of that show, and it would just be unbelievable. And like, not just for me, for any young fighter that gets an opportunity to fight on these shows. Obviously Mark's pushing for me all the time, rooting for me all the time, and it's really starting to show, because look at the opportunities I'm getting. But it's like, for any young boxer in Belfast, you can only dream of that.
It's getting your first sort of taste now of TV as well. We obviously don't know what the running order and things going to be like, but it could even be potentially obviously been in a float, or even like ad on BT Sport, or even if it's a title fight and stuff as well. Like, you nearly sort of have to pinch yourself and you're going, what am I doing on TV? Do you look sort of, I know obviously you're a role model for the amateurs here in Glean, but do you start to realise yet that you are a role model for the next generations coming through, that sort of younger fighters, and they're looking and going, I want to be Conor Quinn? Have you started to realise that sort of yet? Because I guess sometimes in boxing you're so laser focused on your own ideas and inspirations that you don't forget that there's someone coming behind. Even in your old gym and stuff as well. You've Jamie Graham and stuff like that. They're coming through and they want to be Conor Quinn.
No, like you said, you don't notice anything like that, because you're so focused on your own career. But the good thing with us is, like, we're training in an amateur gym in Glean Amateur Boxing Club, and then also obviously Clonard Amateur Boxing Club, where I grew up my whole life, and Peter Graham's still part of my team, and I'm getting to see that gym day in, day out. So you don't really think about it, but you do notice it when you go down and you're watching the amateurs train, and they're asking you when's your next fight, and you're seeing their eyes light up when you tell them. And like, I remember when I was that age and I was looking up to the professional fighters, D being one of them. Like, I used to go and watch all D's fights and stuff like that. So you don't think about it, because you don't want to get ahead of yourself. But I would like to think that anyone that is looking up to me, I'm giving a good sort of blueprint to how to sort of carry yourself outside of the boxing ring. Obviously, in the boxing ring, there's plenty of people out there who are talented, and there's plenty of people that have the ability to go far and do well. But I like to think the way I live my life and the things that I do outside the gym, and like, I don't drink, I don't party, I don't do anything like that. I live in the gym, like, you know what I mean, and I live a quiet life with my girlfriend and my friends, who are all sort of in similar positions to me in different sports, and Muay Thai, MMA. Like, every weekend, one of my best friends is fighting somewhere, and I love that, mate. Like, I think for any young fighter growing up, that's the sort of way they should be looking at. If you want to go far in a combat sport, live your life that way and you will do well,
Well, listen, well, obviously thank you very much for your time. I didn't think we were going to have 24 minutes out of you today.
Is that what it is?
But I guess in the sun's shining, you want to be outdoors. In the winter months, it's like, let's get this wrapped up as quickly as possible. But delighted to obviously see you get another opportunity on a Conlon card. Hopefully, fingers crossed, Mark can work his magic and maybe get it for a title, or get you a TV slot at the very least. But I'm sure you'll obviously look forward over the next 6 weeks of camp.
That's right.
6 weeks today, you'll actually be making weight.
Is that what it is?
You could probably make weight today.
Yeah, I thought it was 5 weeks. So
5 weeks. I think it's 6 weeks.
6. You'll be right. Like,
I think it's 5 weeks tomorrow to Katie, and
right,
6
okay.
weeks tomorrow to obviously fighting in Belfast. But thanks very much for your time as always.
Thanks very much. Mate.
And I'm sure we'll obviously catch up in Fight Week in Belfast once again.
Certainly.
No doubt we'll probably be in here every week. And now
Definitely.
I'm nearly in here in this gym as much as you are. But thanks as always for your time.
Thanks
and we'll
very
catch
much,
up with you
buddy.
soon.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.